The History of Macs by Nathan Smith. It all started with the Apple I, introduced March 1976, which was about $666.66. Only about 200 were made. It had a 4 kilobyte RAM with a monochrome display. The keyboard was not included. The ports were composite video output, a keyboard interface, and one vertical expansion slot. The storage was a cassette interface available. The operating system was an Apple Basic on cassette, which this was actually released to the public in July 1976. After the Apple I was the Apple II, which was released April 1977. It was about $1,298 US. It was a 4 kilobyte RAM, just like the Apple I, and the display was 6 colors maximum, which isn't very big. The ports were also a composite video output, a cassette interface, and 8 internal expansion slots. The storage was a generic cassette drive external 143 kilobyte floppy. And after the Apple II came the Apple III, which was released in the spring of 1981, which was about $3,495 a piece. About how many were made? About 65,000. It had a color composite video for display with 16 colors in it. The ports were 2 serial ports, an external floppy port, and an expansion with 4 internal slots. The storage was an internal 143 kilobyte floppy disk. The operating system was the Apple SOS, the sophisticated operating system. After the Apple III came the Apple Lisa, which was released in June of 1983. It was about $9,995, and only about 100,000 were made. It would have 1 megabyte RAM with a 12-inch monochrome monitor. It had 1 parallel port, 2 serial ports, and 1 mouse port. The expansion was 3 internal slots. The operating system was the Apple Lisa GUI. After the Apple Lisa came the Apple II GS, introduced in September of 1986. It was discontinued by the December of 1992. The price was about $1,000 US without the monitor included. The ports were 2 serial ports, an ADB and Apple Desktop bus, an external floppy port, a joystick port, and a RGB and composite video output. The expansion were 7 internal slots. The operating system was the Apple GUI Pro DOS. After the Apple II GS came the Apple Macintosh Portable, introduced in September of 1989. It was about $7,300. It weighed about 16 pounds. The RAM was about 1 megabyte. The battery was a 6.5 volt, 5 amp lead acid gel type. The display was only 10 inches. The ports were an Apple Desktop bus, 2 serial ports, an external SCSI port, an external floppy port, a video port, and the storage was an internal 1.4 megabyte floppy drive. The operating system was the internal 40 megabyte SCSI hard drive, the Mac OS 6.04. Since I've only been talking about old computers, I feel like I should throw in a couple more too, like the MacBook Pro 17-inch. It's a bit more than $2,000. It weighs only about 6.6 pounds compared to the 16-pound laptop we just saw. It has a MagSafe power port, a Gigabyte Ethernet port, 1 FireWire 800 port, 3 USB 2.0 ports, a mini display port, an audio line in, and an audio line out, an express card, and a Kingston lock slot. It's about 500 gigabytes of storage, has up to 8 to 9 hours of battery power. It has a 17-inch high-resolution LED backlit glossy widescreen, and the processor is 2.53 gigahertz Intel Core i5 processor with 3.5 megabytes. I've talked about new computers, old computers, and now we have the iPad, one of the most advanced computers Apple has ever made. It is a 9.7-inch captive touchscreen with 1 gigahertz Apple A4 processor. Comes in Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus 3G model, and there are 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte models on this iPad. This is brought to you by Nathan Smith, starring Nathan as maker and voice, Apple as maker of computers, and oldcomputers.com as the information.